Yeah. I need a hiccup. Hey, good afternoon. Tony Dattino doing my live with Tony on Friday, August the 4th. We have another week that has just flown by. And I thought I'd share, I was absolutely amazed at the shopping experience that I had doing groceries this afternoon. And one might say, well, gee, what could be so exciting about the shopping at a grocery store? And I must say, the first thing is it was a Publix store, and it was a different one than we normally shop in. And it's a much bigger Publix store than we normally shop in, and it's got, 16, probably about 20 aisles, so it's a pretty good sized Publix grocery store. And as you can imagine, we had our shopping list of the things we want to remember to buy, which I'm sorry to say we did not put one item on the shopping list, and we did not remember to buy it until we got home and said, oh. But what's more important, as we're walking about as an employee that obviously could tell we were looking for items and we just like lost in a grocery store. And he came over and said, is there anything I could do to help you find? And Evelyn gave him what she was looking for, and he said, it's in aisle 7, halfway down on the aisle on the middle shelf. I'm like, wait a minute. Not only does he remember the aisle, which I guess is easy to remember because they put the signs up on top, but he even remembered the placement of it and even what size we were looking for. And I'm like, whoa. So I stopped and I said to him, how do you do that? And he says, what is it that you're doing? Because it just kind of snaps it off. So obviously he said the first thing you want to do is you want to remember to remember. You got to focus. So the first thing he said is, I've been doing this for a number of years, but you've got to stop and be in the moment, which I found interesting for a person working in a grocery store to stop and think about using his mind to say, I got to be focused in the moment that I'm putting items in. And then when we go to stock and store, we go back and look at the aisles and what's in each aisle. And then I see pictures, I see images of the food that's stocked on the shelves. And after doing this for a little while, it's amazing how those icons and those pictures just come right back to me. So we go get our items in aisle 7, and the next thing is Evelyn went off to pick up some stuff in produce, and I'm standing there again. Again, another person looks at me and says, it looks like you could use some help. And so I look at him and say, yeah. Looks like we could use some help here in this particular section of what else we're looking for. And he says, it's aisle 14, paper. You go down on the left side of the aisle, you go 3/4 of the way down from where you are, and you'll find them right there on the shelf. And I'm like, what is this? 2 different employees, both stocking and finding exactly what we need by the number, by the spacing, by what shelf. I mean, there's 4 different levels of shelves. And so what I uncovered is basically they use the loci method of memory. And we teach the loci method. Now, what's amazing about these 2 people, the second person was actually a manager. It's like, wait a minute. A manager understands the details of the store as well as the stock clerks do. And what was amazing is they used the loci method, which we teach people. Now, here's the other thing amazing. If you step and think of a store with 20 aisles in it, that run a pretty good distance. In fact, it was the longest beer aisle I'd ever seen in a grocery store. Went from one end to the other end. It was huge. And they're remembering, these are thousands of items. Thousands, which goes to the point when we're teaching people how to find items and remember things, or take paragraphs of information and link it to keywords and then put that into your Roman room or loci method. It's amazing what the capacity is for the human brain to encode information when we are what? Focused. What did the first person say to me? That you've got to be focused and in the moment. So when you're focused in the moment, and you can use a method like the loci method, Roman room as some people call it, or the journey method, all similar, looking at some place in a fixed place and retaining where that is, and then linking information to it so that you can do a quick recall Like when a customer looks lost, you can use my system of remembering of where I put things on shelves and immediately recall them. And I just think that's utterly fabulous. It proves what we've been saying is that there's no limit to the amount of information we can encode in our minds. And finding objects in a room that we call the Roman room method, and just linking information to them, like here's a shelf and here's a product that I put on the shelf. Here's something I want to remember that I read in a book, and I want to link it and put it to that attachment. So we just finished doing a session with 2 10-year-olds, and we had them now remembering the first 12 presidents of the United States by looking at their own bedrooms in their house and linking a president to each of the objects from their monitor in terms of walking in and looking at the first object in their room is their computer monitor, to their pillows, to their desk, and it's just fascinated me in terms of teaching these kids in a very short lesson how to remember the first 12 presidents of the United States. And there's no doubt in my mind they'll remember all of the presidents in the United States just by following that process. And these 2 store employees at a grocery store have got thousands of these hooks that they've put into their minds, which brings us to the Memory Championship. In the Memory Championship finals, we'll give the mental athletes 200 words that they need to remember. And they will have to remember those in 15 minutes. Now, will they remember all 200? You know, we haven't gotten up to past 125 yet, so we're getting there, but we're at about 125 for our maximum score using the Loci method of memory. But we give them 200 words, but we give them only 15 minutes, so their timing has got to be that snappy and that quick. As the new store employees, that quick to tell me exactly what aisle, what shelf, where it was spaced. So what it demonstrates to me is the capacity is unlimited to what we can do, given first the belief that we can improve our memory, the second that we are willing to learn what those methods and skills are that can help us to encode, given the fact that we realize we have an unlimited amount of storage and the capacity that we have to retain information into our minds, and then given the spontaneity of recall, meaning that in a moment when I need to pull that information forward, if I'm focused in the moment, first I've encoded it by focus, now I'm focused on the recall, and bam, I now helped somebody out that was looking lost in the middle of a large grocery store. Which takes me back to the USA Memory Championship. On September 23rd, we'll have 12 people come in from different parts of the country to compete for who's got the best memory in the United States in the year 2023. And we have a number of people that have come back, and we have some new people that are coming in. So we're excited about the mix of some of our veterans that we've seen a few times before, and some of the new people that are challenging themselves to demonstrate and benchmark their own level of competence against a group of other people that are looking to do the same. And there's a spirit in the Memory Championship that anyone can do this, given the desire, the willingness to learn, the willingness to practice, and then the willingness to put your brain on display. So September 23rd is coming along. We're looking to have our first post-qualifying round meeting on Monday, which is coming up, and that happens to be August the 7th. And we'll meet with our finalists, and we'll give them a little rah-rah and a little cheer and a little find out if there are any specific needs we have to accommodate, and look forward to having our 24th USA Memory Championship. And boy, if you would have told me 24 years ago what this was going to take and what this was going to be like, I don't think I might have ever started. But you know what, 24 years in, I'm as excited about this year's event as I am. And of course, we know what next year's event is going to be, which would be our 25th. And by golly, after the first 3 or 4, I was wondering if I could get to 5. And now we are close to getting to 25. So God knows where this will go, but the messaging is clear. Given the desire and the willingness to learn, we can make mental challenges into our life that science is showing to us is a really good way to maintain mental fitness and cognitive function. Well, it's weekend time. We'll see you back here on Monday. It's 95 degrees here in Windermere, Florida, so it's pretty hot. And I am about out to go put on a bathing suit and go jump into the community pool and do some laps. So I want to do some exercising here to help with my aerobic and mental fitness as well as reading. So what are some of the things that we need to know about our brain that we never knew before? We'll see you Monday.